this government increased their debt from 2009 to 2016 by 20 billion. And what did this result in? It resulted in a dip in the GDP by 8.8 billion Ghana cedis. This same 20 billion is what we put on our debt from 2017 to 2024. And what did we do? We rather added $20 billion to our GDP. Now GDP is 1.2 trillion Ghana cedis. 1.2 trillion Ghana cedis. I know they always come up with one thing or the other, but facts are sacred, Mr. Speaker, and it has found its way in their budget. Mr. Speaker, let me come to one thing that is really of a bother to me. I heard my former minister talk about it, and I also want to talk about it. That is the issue of expenditure. Mr. Speaker, they presented to us, to the people of Ghana, that this government is a government that is going to rationalize expenditure and cut waste. But, Mr. Speaker, they should tell us, where in this budget have they rationalized expenditure? Where in this budget have they cut waste? Rather, they have sought to add 43.5 billion Ghana cedis to the expenditure budget. This is not Abna saying it. This is your budget speaking to that. Mr. Speaker, they are hoping that at the end of appropriation, we will give them the permission to spend 290 billion Ghana cedis. When, Mr. Speaker, this year is not an election year, so there are certain expenditures that they are not going to incur.
Mr. Speaker, if you had 123 ministers, and if you reduce it to 60, a difference of 63 ministers, go and check the overhead expenditure on them. 63 ministers. How much you guys spent on 123 ministers? Was it not a wasteful expenditure? We have a government who will not spend money to dig hole in the name of National Cathedral. We have a government who will not fly with a chartered flight with other friends. Other friends. And you know what I'm talking about. Mr. Speaker, we have a president who will not take national resources to pay ghosts. Speaker, when it comes to debt, even if I want to go by their figures, you have the unprecedented record in the history of this country. 2009, NDC government met total debt of 9.2 billion Ghana cedis. 2016, when they were leaving Ghana, it had moved to 122.3 billion. In terms of percentage increase, 1,222.8% has never occurred. Sometimes I want to ask you, nobody wants to tell me, that are you truly social democrats or capitalistic in nature? Because you can't do proper policies. You can't manage the economic indicators. So what are you? I want to know. Mr. Speaker, let's come to this, something they call 24-hour economy. I've conducted my own research. I've collected primary data from them. I've asked 31 NDC MPs. They all give different definitions. One policy, in terms of definitions, infinite. The fact is, the NDC guys do not stay down, sit down, analyze things before they come out. What is 24-hour economy? They have no idea about what they want to do. Mr. Speaker, what we want to tell them is that Ghanaians, Ghanaians have regretted.
Speaker, he said he interviewed 31 members of NDC MPs and who did not understand what the 24-hour economy is. So, Speaker, that is not fair because you cast doubts on the integrity of the entire membership of the NDC caucus. You can engage in your debate, but clearly you haven't conducted any interviews. If you conducted interviews, mention the names of the MPs. It's not fair to this side for that particular statement to be allowed to stand. You can say all the lies you have said, I don't have a problem. But to add this one, I think that it shouldn't be accepted, Mr. Speaker.
Your budget, even the one that you brought, your budget, it betrays your priorities. You see, like they say, don't tell me what your priorities are. Show me your budget, and I will see what you value. This budget that you have brought is the budget in which you have told us, first of all, that you value Ghanaian women so much that you are going to set up a bank for them, the Women's Development Bank. You have put $51 million allocation, 51 million cedis, 51 million cedis allocation in this budget for the Women's Development Bank. And then you have put 70 million cedis for research at Jubilee House. Oh. You see your priorities? The budget is beginning to betray your priorities. You give all of the women in Ghana who are looking for this bank 51 million, and then you give research at the office of the president 70 million Ghana cedis. You are beginning to see your priorities. Honorable Deputy Minister, you told us that something has happened that's never happened. The president has gone to negotiate minimum wage. How much? 10%. What he failed to realize, that yes, in 2024, they allocated 11.5 billion cedis for goods and services. We have reduced that to 6.9 billion. But they allocated 14.7 for capex. We have allocated 21 billion cedis for capital expenditure. Between goods and services and capital expenditure, which one will help the economy grow? Our approach is to invest in capital expenditure to expand the productive capacity of this country. That is what will bring the growth that we need, and not goods and services.
Mr. Speaker, we have a country where the government of the day was looking in all places for taxes. Every least excuse, they will impose a tax. They said there is Ebola sitting at Nima, sanitation tax. They said there's a disease called COVID-19 tax. The people of Ghana are very lucky. By now, we have been hearing deportation from the United States levy in our country. The war of tariff, the tariff war, we would have been hearing tariff levy because our economy is suffering from Donald Trump. But here, Ghanaians don't even know that there's a tariff war. Ghanaians don't even know that Ghanaians are being deported because we will not ask them to pay levies for the people that are being deported. And this is how we are going to run this economy and teach you so that next time in 2058, if you ever happen to come back here, you will not be imposing taxes on the poor.
The previous government announced publicly, the Attorney General actually took steps in the course of the 8th Parliament to effect the same amendment. But, Mr. Speaker, the point is, the need for this prelaying is all because the submissions made by the Honorable Majority Leader and the Honorable Minister for Education, Mr. Speaker, in some respects, does not contextualize the issue because the President has the right under the National Constitution, under statute, to exercise a discretion for mining to take place in a forest reserve.
My worry is the comments made by my brother, the former minister for lands, when he indicated that mining is actually going on in the forest area. It's true, but he issued those permits. He issued those permits, and what we are seeking to do is to ensure that people do not engage in such mining. And
we know the agency involved in the ally before us, but with all due respect, I will want to direct and urge upon the subsidiary legislation committee